Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Bradley, but you can call me Bradley, and today we're going to be building a house only out of blue blocks, because that's not hard at all, is it? Well, anyways, let's look at the selection here. We've got a slightly bigger one than we have had in the past, especially with the green and the yellow. Those guys had like a very small selection, but this one's pretty big because there's a lot of blue blocks, and that means we'll hopefully have a better base. I can't tell you immediately, but hopefully it'll be very cool, and I feel like I'm going to be using these two blocks quite a lot because they're very, actually I probably won't, I don't know, I'll figure something out. Anyways, before I ramble on any longer, I'm going to get into the time lapse. Now, I'm going to be completely honest here. One of the favourite challenge I do on this channel is the building with specific colours one, and you might be wondering why, and it's because it's a very texture centric video. It forces me to have to find new texture combinations, and frankly, when I'm building, I have like a catalogue of textures that I use for everything that I don't really update anymore, and I don't really get a chance to update it because I have a texture for everything. But this causes me to adjust and change my textures, and sometimes I find brand new textures through it. Like I used a copper only, an only blue texture here, which I don't use a lot because blue is a terrible block to build with. Sometimes it gets very frustrating, but I stuck with the copper this time around, and there's a reason I stuck with copper, because there's so many variants of it, and it's just like the most valuable blue block that I think is in the game. But frankly, I think this base turned out, at least in the end, a lot better than I thought it would. Now, originally I was going for a more military design. You might be able to guess by the roof, and it is blue, but it does have hints of green in it, a very bluey greeny exterior, and I think it looked pretty nice, and it gave off that cool military high density building vibe. Oh, and one thing you might want to see is the windows. I used like completely blacked out on the inside. I had to be smart about how I was going to do the blacked out one, so I used the skulk. And I actually did some building for another event recently for a much bigger YouTuber. I can't really tell you anything more than that because of an NDA, which is pretty cool. But in the event, there were these really cool window designs someone did, and I tried to mimic what is going on there, and it looks really cool. And I just love the design of using blacked out windows instead of having something actually on the interior, because I think it just makes you wonder a little bit more what's going on inside of there. And even with those windows, you can still add an interior, but it still looks really cool. One thing I decided to do midway through is add like a big pipe on the right side of it, which kind of changed the whole vibe of the thing into like a sewage or liquid factory or nuclear power plant, or what, and maybe it's nuclear storage, let's say it's that. But it looks really cool having that giant pipe on the side and a relatively small building. I think it looks pretty unique, and it's one of the cooler additions I've definitely made to a build in quite a while. Now, one of the textures I did use in it, and it was quite hard to make the textures for this one because they are very unique, especially when detailing or texturing with copper. You're trying to use blocks that really aren't there, because the only way I could really think to of a texture copper was using the copper variants, because it's a weirdly colored block. But with this one, I had to texture it a different way, so I used the shades of the blocks to try and merge it from that dark blue into that more cyany greeny color, which still, all blues, they're all blues, but it looks really cool, and I'm really happy with the final result of that texture. Another cool thing that I added in was the pipe. There's like a glowing bit on the center, and that helped adding a little like futurism to the base. I really love that. I just love little designs like that. And I also added like some fence gates that are going through the pipe to try and look like it was lifted up. I think that pipe just is a massive, I really like that pipe. It really adds a good addition to the base, and it's just something I really liked when I was building it. I went through like so many variants trying to get it right, but I really loved the final design. And towards the front here, you'll also see there's like a window, a military window, like a blast shutter, which kind of fits the whole nuclear bunker vibe. At the end of the video, I think I call it a sewage plant, but I've decided now it's a nuclear bunker, which is pretty cool. But I used the sea lanterns behind the window there to try and look like the building was lit up on the inside, and then you have those bars that are going down, which are really just the corners of the block, but it looks like rounded glass, and I think that looks really cool. And I did try out a bit with depth depth as well, because a lot of my bases I use mainly textures, but with this one I thought I'd have to work a little more with depth because the textures are a little lackluster. But I think the depth on this one looked really good, and for my first attempt at doing a more depth worthy base, I think it looked pretty neato. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty happy with how this base turned out. There's a lot more details that I could go into, every single pipe, nook and cranny, the smoke tower on the top, the textures all across the base, why I use prismarine at parts. That was to make it look lighter and add a little bit distinguishing from the copper, and all the stripes, all of it. I could go into all of it, but I don't have enough time because the time lapse is about to end. Well, that turned out nice, didn't it? Well, let's look at the build here. I've got an axe in my inventory because I use World Edit. I know I'm a filthy World Edit user, but what I tried to do with this base originally was I was going to go for more of a military design. You might have seen some of the builds I did over here. Maybe not, I don't know, can't remember. And you would have seen like it looked more military, but in the end I went for more of like a sewage factory, whatever thing this is, and I think it turned out really awesome. One of the things that I really love about designing just with one block is it often forces you to do a type of style that you don't regularly do, and this one was military, which as you can probably look around, I don't do a lot. That one forced me to do like a jungle Japan-esque thing. This one over here forced me to do a mythical house, things like, well actually I might build a couple mythical houses, I don't know. But this one, yeah, military sewage factory, whatever it is, it looked really cool, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially with the textures and just all the designs. Anyways, thank you for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe. If you have any ideas for future videos, put them in the comments below, and bye bye.